So without further ado, let's start into today's enlightening conversation with Tommy Cullander. Hey, Tommy, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well. How are you?
Good, good. So from where are you speaking? Where are you located, Tommy?
I'm located in Stockholm, Sweden, where I've been back since '92 from Munich.
Oh, okay. And you were born in Germany, or how is this
No,
connected?
I was living and working in Munich, Germany for 6 years as a regional director for an Australian company called Pacific Dunlop.
Oh, and what did the Pacific Dunlop do?
It has a daughter company called Ansell, and they were manufacturing surgical gloves primarily for theaters and nurses and doctors. And it was a manufacturing company, but my personally objectives was to change this from a distributor focused company to a end user focused company.
Oh, this is very important. So you also might speak a bit about your background in detail, because we are already in the discussion. So my first question today is, of course, can you share a bit about your professional background? Because this is the show about, right? So
all right, let's start far way back, as I have 50 years of sales and marketing experience. So we will start very early. But briefly, I was working for a Swedish company called Stille Werner, which was one of the world's oldest manufacturers of surgical instruments. And I was, in the end, the vice president of marketing and sales, and also responsible for their export business. So I set up distributor net, especially in the Far East, like Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, Australia, Indonesia, so on and so forth. And then I was also introducing surgical gloves in Sweden from this company, Ansell Pacific Dunlop. And I managed to get from 0 to 65% market share in 6 years, which
wow,
means that I had
this is a lot, right? I mean, this is really a lot.
It's definitely a lot, and I had to convince all theater nurses, all surgeons, as their hands are their own preferences, is what type of gloves they should use.
Right, this is amazing. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting, and then I actually went down to Ansell in Munich and said I would like to take over the distributorship myself in Sweden. But then the guy said to me, "No, I don't need that. I do want you to come down to Munich to take over the responsibility for Europe, Middle East, and Africa." So I went down, moved to Munich, and started up at that time, it was only focused on distributors throughout the region.
But Tommy, just a question. So this means you expanded into a new region, the business as well, because you just said Africa and Middle East, right? So from Munich out, you operated like this. You were expanding into new region, or how did you?
No, when I was working for Stille, I expanded the distributorship. Then I left Stille for Ansell. And Ansell was the manufacturer of surgical gloves, which I introduced in Sweden to this high market share. And then I went down to Munich, started to work there, and I had to change everything. I started sales subsidiaries in England, Germany, France, and Sweden, of course, to protect the market share I had created. And I also saw to that I employed regional managers for the individual regions in the EMEA area. But the main thing, how to succeed, because I doubled the sales and revenue in 6 years in Munich. And one of the most important things that people may forget, if you do not understand the mentality and the language of the country you are approaching, you can forget it. You can't put a Swede into a direct sales in England, for example. So I had to employ directors who were from the country.
To interrupt you, so this means for sales, it's also very important, let's say, that you know the nationality, right? So how people work, how they act, to interact with them, right?
Absolutely. And the most important thing is the mentality of your customers, because the mentality in Switzerland, Sweden, France, Germany are different, even though everyone may speak the same English language. But I also did the following, that in the customer service department in Munich, which was central for the region, I employed people who spoke the language where the distributors were.
Yeah, this is important, of course. I mean, if you are multilingual, how is it? How do you pronounce this?
Multilingual.
Yeah, multilingual. Yes, exactly. Then this is, of course, very helpful, right?
Absolutely, because the customer will feel such a confidence that the supplier of the product he or she is going to sell in his or she's market.
Do you have also some kind of advice, regarding negotiations with, let's say, potential clients which, come from another nation or have another mentality?
First of all, which I did, was to understand the market itself, to try to find facts. For example, how many customers of this kind is there? What type of competitors are there? And what type of pricing are they used to? And after that, setting up a meeting, totally blank, no agenda, just speaking and seeing what you can do together to reach what should I do as a supplier and what should you do as a customer. And in the end, what should we do together to find the end user to accept the combined products?
I have another question. So I have some notes, right? So
right.
I brought them with me today, so I'm not forgetting anything. So important to ask you. So I have a burning question. So it is, what was your most challenging business success story?
Well, I think I can say I had three. One was to introduce the surgical gloves in Sweden, to go from 0 to 65%. The second one, when I was working as a regional director CEO in Munich, was to change the focus of the company to be more end user focused than distributor focused.
How do you change the focus of a company? Because I guess this is, a very big management thing, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's quite honest. Think from the customer point of view. How would you like to be treated as a customer from a supplier? I mean, isn't that easy enough? And that was my second one, to succeed and double the sales and revenue over the 6 years period by changing the mentality of the company I was working for. And thirdly, when I finished my successful career, I started as a senior account executive for a company in Sweden doing recruitment and interim solutions within the finance market. Meaning that I should go to the CEO or the CFO to see how I or the company I was working for could help them in finance by reporting, thinking differently, how to read reports to find the best solution for future success.
Very interesting. So this means you have not only a sales background, you have also a financial background, right?
In my education, yes. But all sales and marketing has a financial touch. You can't do whatever you want without understanding the financial issues. Anyway, in these 10 years, 12 years latest, I managed to get orders, getting orders in hand for 45 million euro within the finance sector. And I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, this is a really big success story. So congratulations, Tommy, to this. Wow,
Thank you.
I am impressed, very impressed. Okay, I have another question. So this is about lifetime learning. So let me just read it. So how do you stay updated with the latest industry trends? And how important do you believe is continuous lifetime learning?
First of all, if you're interested in business, you will never let it go. You will think about it all the time. But I read the Swedish version of Financial Times daily. I go through different companies which I have personally invested in with regard to their shares. I have trade information papers which I read to, and I also have contacts within companies and end users which I get information by just talking to them. So I think it's very important, not as a retired person with quite a good experience, sit down and look at the television. Forget about that, because then you will end up lying dead.
Very good advice. So this means you are still, connected with, let's say, former customers and former clients and your network. This is what your daily business is, right? So you are still, let's say, taking care of these connections.
I still have connections, of course, with the good customers, and I meet them privately as well. But that is nothing which you just put up and say that you do this and do that. That's my little secret.
Okay, got you. So, I mean, you know that the company Sales Pro for You is connecting mentors with startups, scale-ups, and SME, right? So in different, let's say, branches. So this is at the heart of what we are doing daily. So what kind of advice would you give to a startup?
Well, first of all, why have they started the company? To understand the reasons behind a product or a services. When you understand that, of course, also understanding they have made some market research, so they should see some profitability in what they are offering customers. But I always said I've used a device called www. Anyone says it's World Wide Web, right?
Yeah, but I know what you're trying to say. Okay, hang on. Let's do it.
Whom, what, why.
Yeah, exactly. I love this.
For whom do you do what and why do you do it? And that's the most important thing, because if you leave after that, you will always have an answer to something you think will be valuable for the customer. But I think that www, it gives you so many interesting opportunities to think differently. And by doing that, you will always find that there are no problems whatsoever, only opportunities.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and it helps you to focus, right? I mean, these are, let's say, the fundamental questions you have to ask yourself before starting your business. And maybe if you're also maybe going to change your business, if you would like to expand into a new market or a new region, you should also ask those questions.
All the time. I mean, maybe also privately.
Yeah, you're right.
But I believe anyone who lives after that small www will find interesting issues for the future.
Thank you so much for this very helpful advice. So I will, of course, point this out again. I have another question. So this is also maybe today the final question. So the question comes from Rudy. So who Rudy is, I will tell you, during the next shows. But anyways, Rudy is asking, how do you balance free time and business?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, especially when you're retired. I would say the following. I would not let my business focus overrule my free time, especially as retired, of course. But it's rather that your business time give you a great value in your free time. Because if you add these two together, doesn't matter if it's 20/80 or 30/70 or 50/50, it gives you a certain thrill in your daily work. And I think being retired with, I proudly would say, my experience, I think it's a challenge to share this free time business combination with the startups or SMEs. And I think that would give a great meaning to my free time and a super combination with business. So it's not a question, how do I do it? It's just there. If you're interested and if you're really focused and if you believe that you have something in your background and experience that you can share with others, you will always have that in mind.
That's great. Very nice words. So in my case, just to share also some, let's say, insights from my point of view and my business life. So I believe the most inspiring moments I have is doing free time, right? I mean, if I have a lot of good feelings in my free time, I get inspired, which of course helps me to just, move on with my business. So of course it's hard to relax and to work, but as you just said, I mean, it's important to do it.
I had a friend who once said to me, if you are out selling and you think you've done it very well, you come home one day, you lay yourself in a tub with some hot water and you say, God damn, I am good.
Okay, I have to do this. Very nice advice. Okay, very nice story.
And it's still the positive thinking. There are no problems. There are only opportunities, privately or business-wise.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you think very positive, you're also attracting positive things to yourself, right? I mean, this is how it goes.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Anything you would like to share with us further, Tommy? Any kind of story or advice regarding working with startups or something like this you have just in your mind?
Well, I've been with you for quite some time now, and I think that the idea as such is great, because there are so many companies out there who believes they're sitting on a fortune, being services or products, but they have no idea how to go further to get that success. And I know that not only myself, but I think there's a lot of other people that you have contact with can help these companies by advising, not to tell them what to do, but maybe to see that they do not do the problems or the fault I may have done, that my mistakes will not be multiplied. So I think that that is what I would like to give to any potential customer. So Sales Pro, keep on.
Thank you so much. So, and that wraps up. Jesus Christ, now I'm just flattered by your words, and that wraps up our enlightening episode of the Mentor Talk today. So, thank you so much, Tommy Cullander. It was a pleasure talking to you. And yes, last words from my side. So remember, success is a journey. And having the guidance and the wisdom of an experienced professional makes all the difference. So don't forget this. And if you have any kind of feedback, or if you want to get support by today's expert, Tommy Cullander, or if you would like to become part of the mentoring community of Sales Pro for You, please email me to mentor@salesproforyou.com. So that's it. Have a great time. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.